Whispers from Alpha Centauri, the alien truth buried by governments. The first whisper came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Dr. Elena Morris, an astrophysicist at the International Space Observatory, noticed a faint pattern in the radio signals captured from Alpha Centauri. At first, she thought it was interference from Earth's satellites. But the signal repeated itself, almost like it had a rhythm, a message. She sat at her console, rubbing her tired eyes. No way, she whispered to herself. She had been tracking distant stars for 15 years, and she had never seen anything like this. The signal was clean, precise, and unmistakably artificial. Elena's pulse quickened. If this was real, it could be the first proof of intelligent life beyond our solar system. Elena immediately reached for her secure line to Dr. Rajesh Kumar, her closest colleague. "Rajesh, are you seeing this?" she asked, voice trembling. "Seeing what?" Rajesh replied, distracted. "The signal from Alpha Centauri. It's structured. Repeating. It's a message." There was a long pause. Then Rajesh's tone shifted from casual to urgent. "Elena, if this is true, we can't just announce it. You know what will happen." Elena frowned. "What do you mean?" "This is scientific discovery, Rajesh. This is humanity's greatest moment." Rajesh hesitated, then whispered, "Governments don't want the truth. They'll bury it, twist it, or worse. They've done it before. You have to be careful." Elena swallowed hard. She had heard rumors before, whispers of secret agencies monitoring alien communications, silencing discoveries, erasing evidence. But she had never believed them. Now, looking at the code on her screen, she wondered if the rumors were real. By nightfall, the message became clearer. Elena had spent hours decoding the pulses, and she noticed patterns resembling mathematical sequences. Prime numbers. Fibonacci sequences. This was not random. It was intelligence trying to communicate. She documented every detail, capturing the data on multiple encrypted drives. She decided she needed help, but not from anyone in her government. Too risky. Instead, she contacted a small network of independent scientists she trusted. Among them was Dr. Leila Hassan, an astrophysicist who had once defied her country's space agency to publish controversial findings about exoplanets. "I've seen it too," Leila said when Elena shared the encrypted files. "This is more than a signal. It's a message intended for us." "But why Alpha Centauri? Why now?" Elena shook her head. "I don't know. But there's something else. When I tried to trace the source more precisely, I noticed an unusual interference, like someone, or something, was trying to hide it. We're not the only ones listening." The thought chilled Leila. "You mean, governments?" "Exactly. And if they find out we're decoding it, they'll come after us." Over the next week, the team worked in secret. They met in safe houses, shared encrypted messages, and avoided electronic surveillance. Every pulse, every pattern, every sequence seemed deliberate. And then, Elena found it, a section of the signal that appeared to be a warning. It was a map, of sorts. Not a star chart, not coordinates, but a timeline. Events that had happened, events that were about to happen, warnings embedded in the patterns. Elena felt her hands shake as she tried to make sense of it. "This is a warning from Alpha Centauri?" she asked, voice barely audible. Leila nodded. "Or instructions. They are telling us something we need to know. Something we've never been told." The next day, Elena received an unexpected visitor. A man in a dark suit, claiming to be from a government oversight committee. He asked simple questions at first, about her research, her methods, her colleagues, but there was a coldness in his eyes, a weight behind his words. "You're treading dangerous waters, Dr. Morris," he said. "Some things humanity isn't ready to hear." Elena smiled weakly. "And you decide that? Who are you to hide knowledge from everyone?" He leaned closer. "We only protect. Some truths can destroy civilization." "Leave it alone." But Elena's resolve hardened. "No. If there's a warning from intelligent life, the world deserves to know." The man's eyes flickered, and then he left without another word. But Elena knew what his visit meant. The government was aware, and they were watching. That night, she stared at the encrypted drives. Each pulse of the signal seemed urgent, almost pleading. Whoever, or whatever, was sending this, wanted humans to understand. And Elena now realized they couldn't trust anyone in power. As she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, she whispered to herself, If Alpha Centauri is trying to tell us the truth, I will make sure the world hears it, no matter the cost. But little did she know, the path ahead would be far darker and more dangerous than she could imagine. There were secrets buried deeper than the government, truths so shocking that even the bravest minds would struggle to accept them. And the whispers from Alpha Centauri were only the beginning. The next morning, Elena and Layla met at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of the city. They avoided their usual labs, knowing that any electronic surveillance could be tracking them. Between sips of coffee, Elena pulled out the encrypted drives. "We need to understand the warning before anyone else interferes," she said. "If we decode this fully, maybe we can predict what's coming." Layla frowned, scrolling through the sequences. "I've been cross-referencing the numbers with historical events. It's unsettling. The signal predicted major disasters almost exactly, some of which nobody would expect. And there's more, it's not just warnings. Some of the sequences point to human interference." "What do you mean?" Elena asked. "The timeline," Layla explained. "It's showing us the consequences of human decisions. Wars, environmental collapse, technological risks. It's like they are trying to guide us, or maybe warn us about ourselves." Elena felt a chill. "And the governments? They've known about this?" "Not all of them," Layla said cautiously. "But certain agencies, secret divisions in multiple countries, have been monitoring extraterrestrial signals for decades. They call it Project Echo. Everything else, they've buried. They even erased older data." Elena's stomach twisted. "So this isn't just a message from aliens, it's a message the world was never supposed to see." "Yes," Layla said grimly. "And now that we have it, we're in danger." Their fears were confirmed that very night. Elena's apartment was broken into, but nothing was stolen. Every electronic device, every hard drive, every document was untouched. It was a warning, an unmistakable sign that someone was watching. Elena realized the man in the dark suit had not been bluffing. These weren't ordinary agents, they were professionals. Trained, patient, and willing to intimidate. "We can't stay here," Elena said. "They'll escalate." Layla nodded. "We move, we hide, we continue decoding. That's our only option." They spent the following days in a series of temporary safe houses, relying on burner phones and encrypted networks. The signal from Alpha Centauri became clearer with each hour, revealing new patterns and strange symbols that defied human understanding. Elena suspected it might be a form of language, but unlike anything linguists had ever seen. Then, the breakthrough came. By combining mathematical decoding with pattern recognition, they discovered what appeared to be coordinates, but not spatial. Temporal coordinates, referencing dates, not places. Specific days in the near future, tied to unpredictable events on Earth. "It's a warning," Elena said, her voice tight with emotion. "A warning about things yet to happen." Layla shook her head. "Or instructions. They are trying to tell us how to avoid disaster. But how? This isn't a language we understand." Elena stared at the screen, her mind racing. "We need more eyes. Independent eyes. Scientists, mathematicians, cryptographers. People outside government control." But before they could act, the first serious attempt to stop them arrived. A black SUV pulled up outside their safe house late one night. Elena and Layla barely escaped through the fire exit, clutching the drives and their laptops. The agents in the SUV were efficient, trained, and dangerous. They had been waiting for the right moment. "This is bigger than we thought," Layla panted as they ran through narrow alleyways. "They'll do anything to bury this." Elena nodded. "We can't let fear stop us. If Alpha Centauri is warning us, the world has a right to know." The next morning, they contacted Dr. Thomas Varela, a retired cryptographer who had once worked for an international space agency but had left after ethical conflicts. He agreed to help, intrigued by the encrypted signal. "The structure is incredible," Thomas said, scanning the data. "It's not just a message, it's a multidimensional pattern. They are encoding math, science, history, and predictions all at once. Whoever sent this, they understand the universe in ways we can barely imagine." Elena leaned forward. "And they are speaking directly to us, through this code." Thomas nodded slowly. "Yes. But it's more than communication. It's a guide. And if governments are trying to hide it, it's because the implications are dangerous. This knowledge could destabilize power, economies, religion, even society itself." Elena's eyes hardened.
Then we must be smarter than them. We can't let them bury it.
We have to reveal it, no matter the cost. 4 days, they worked in secrecy, decoding more of the message, mapping the sequences to potential outcomes. And then, the aliens made their intent clear. Among the patterns was a series of events that had not yet occurred, global-scale disasters tied to human choices. Elena realized that if the predictions were correct, millions of lives could be lost unless the world acted on the warning. She whispered to herself, "This isn't just a signal. It's a call to action. And the people in power, they don't want us to hear it." That night, as she stared at the glowing data streams on her laptop, Elena felt a presence outside her window. The shadows shifted, and she knew the watchers were still there, patient and relentless. But she also knew she could not stop. Humanity's survival might depend on decoding every single pulse from Alpha Centauri, and revealing the truth buried by governments. Elena's resolve was clear. The whispers from Alpha Centauri would not be silenced. Not by fear, not by power, and certainly not by those who thought knowledge was theirs to control. And deep in the night, as the city slept unaware, the signals pulsed once more, urgent and insistent, as if urging her forward before it was too late. The third night after their escape, the signal changed. Elena noticed it first. The usual rhythmic pulses from Alpha Centauri suddenly slowed, stretching into longer intervals, as if the sender was hesitating, or waiting. She leaned closer to the screen, her breath shallow. "It's different," she whispered. Thomas adjusted his glasses and stared at the data. "Yes, it's responding to something."
Layla looked up sharply.
"Responding to what?" "To us," Thomas said. "To our decoding. To our attention." A heavy silence filled the room. The idea was terrifying. The signal wasn't just a broadcast. It was interactive. Elena's heart pounded. "You're saying they know we're listening?" Thomas nodded slowly. "I think they always knew. The signal isn't meant for random discovery. It's meant for those who can understand it." They watched as new symbols formed on the screen, aligning themselves into familiar mathematical constants, pi, prime numbers, universal ratios. Then, suddenly, something else appeared, a structure that resembled human DNA. Layla gasped. That's us." Elena felt a chill run through her body. "They know our biology." The realization was overwhelming. Whoever was sending the message from Alpha Centauri had studied humanity long before humans ever looked toward the stars. The next section of data shocked them even more. It showed images, not photographs, but mathematical reconstructions, of Earth thousands of years ago. Primitive humans, early civilizations, ancient cities, and among them, tall shadowed figures standing beside humans. "They were here," Layla whispered. "They've been here before." Thomas swallowed hard. And they didn't just observe. They guided. The implications were terrifying. Human history, religion, science, progress, might have been influenced by an advanced alien intelligence. And now, that same intelligence was reaching out again. Before they could process this, Elena's phone vibrated. A secure channel lit up with an unfamiliar code. She hesitated, then answered. A distorted voice spoke. "You're getting too close." Elena's pulse raced. "Who is this?" "You don't need to know. You only need to stop. The message you're decoding is not meant for the public." Elena clenched her jaw. "Why? What are you hiding?" The voice paused. "Because the truth will collapse everything you believe about human freedom." The call ended. Moments later, the power went out. The room plunged into darkness. Layla grabbed Elena's arm. "They found us." Emergency lights flickered on as Thomas rushed to secure the data drives. Outside, the sound of vehicles echoed. Engines, doors slamming, boots on pavement. "They are here," Thomas said grimly. They escaped through a back stairwell just as the door burst open above them. The building filled with voices shouting orders. They ran through narrow streets, hearts pounding, until they reached an abandoned subway entrance Thomas had prepared earlier. Inside the darkness, they finally stopped to catch their breath. "This is turning into a war," Layla said quietly. "No," Elena replied. "It already is one. We just didn't know it." Hours later, hidden deep underground, they resumed analyzing the message. What they uncovered next shook them to their core. The signal wasn't just a warning, it was a confession. The beings from Alpha Centauri revealed that they had once tried to help humanity evolve peacefully. But human leaders, even in ancient times, sought power instead of understanding.
Agreements were broken. Knowledge was weaponized.
The aliens withdrew, leaving humanity to develop on its own.
But now, Earth had reached a critical point.
The message showed possible futures: environmental collapse, global conflict, artificial intelligence turning against its creators. In nearly all scenarios, humanity destroyed itself.
Except one.
A narrow path where humanity chose transparency, unity, and truth. "They're giving us a chance," Layla whispered. "But why now?"
Elena asked.
Thomas pointed to a sequence of cosmic alignments. "Because time is running out.
Something is coming.
Something even they fear."
The final part of the message chilled them all. A countdown. Not in years.
Not in months. In days.
Elena's hands trembled.
"This means we don't have much time. And the governments know this," Layla said quietly. "That's why they are hiding it. They think control is safer than chaos." Silence filled the underground chamber. Finally, Elena stood up, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes.
"Then we force the truth into the open.
We expose everything, before the countdown ends." Thomas looked at her, troubled. "If we do that, there's no going back."
Elena nodded.
"There's already no going back." Above them, the world went on as usual, people unaware that a clock was ticking toward something unimaginable. And far beyond the stars, in the direction of Alpha Centauri, the signal pulsed again, stronger, clearer, and more urgent than ever before. The next morning, Elena, Layla, and Thomas were exhausted but determined. They had barely slept, reviewing the countdown embedded in the signal from Alpha Centauri. Every sequence pointed to the same conclusion: a critical event would happen in less than 2 weeks, something that could alter life on Earth. "We need proof," Elena said firmly.
"Something undeniable.
Otherwise, no one will believe us." Layla shook her head.
"You saw what happened last time.
Governments already cover up anything remotely alien-related. If we go public too soon, they'll silence us, or worse."
Thomas nodded. "She's right.
But if we wait, humanity might have no time left."
They decided to track the predicted events.
The signal had listed anomalies, cosmic disturbances, magnetic shifts, subtle environmental changes. The first anomaly appeared in the skies over the South Pacific, a strange aurora-like light that defied Earth's natural magnetic field. Scientists worldwide reported it, but governments issued false explanations: solar flares or atmospheric disturbances. Elena watched the footage online, her hands trembling.
"They are lying," she whispered. "This isn't normal."
The signal predicted this. Layla leaned closer to the screen. "And it's just the beginning." Days passed. The anomalies became more frequent and impossible to dismiss. Satellites reported odd patterns around the moon, tiny objects moving against gravitational predictions. Oceans experienced unexplained tides in unusual places. And for the first time, a public broadcast captured the aurora in vivid detail, but news agencies downplayed it. The team realized that the countdown wasn't just a warning, it was a test. "They are seeing how humans react," Thomas said grimly. "If we panic or hide, we fail. If we take action, we survive." Elena clenched her fists. "Then we have to act. Even if the world isn't ready, we need to warn them." But getting the truth out was harder than they imagined. Every attempt to publish their findings online was blocked. Emails disappeared. Secure networks failed. They discovered that global agencies had formed a covert alliance to suppress the signal, codenamed Operation Silence. "This is bigger than we thought," Layla said. "They are coordinating worldwide: politicians, scientists, media. Anyone who could expose the truth is under surveillance."
Thomas's face darkened. "And now they know we're active.
They'll escalate soon." As if on cue, the first public attack on their credibility began. Major news outlets ran stories claiming that the auroras and anomalies were hoaxes or misinterpretations by amateur scientists. Anonymous sources were quoted, warning the public not to panic. The coordinated disinformation was terrifyingly effective. Elena realized that the fight was no longer just about decoding the message, it was about survival. "We need a plan," she said. "We need evidence they cannot hide."
Layla nodded. "And the countdown is shortening. We can't wait for permission.
We have to act outside the system." They turned back to the signal. It pulsed again, urgent, almost insistent. This time, it contained instructions, diagrams, formulas, and coordinates that could predict the next anomaly. But the message was complex, demanding precision and collaboration.
We need more help, Thomas said.
People who can work quickly, quietly, and independently. Elena and Layla agreed. They reached out to a global network of cryptographers, amateur astronomers, and independent journalists. Using encrypted channels, they shared what they could without revealing their location. Within days, a small team formed. The participants were brilliant, courageous, and determined. Together, they decoded the next warning. A massive solar flare, far larger than any modern equipment had predicted, would strike Earth within 5 days.
This is it, Elena said.
If we don't warn the world, millions will die. Governments will deny it until it's too late.
The group worked around the clock.
They built a simple but undeniable demonstration, an animation showing the predicted trajectory and impact zones of the solar flare. Every calculation matched the anomalies already observed. They released it online through multiple anonymous channels. The video went viral within hours, bypassing traditional media. Social networks erupted with questions, debates, and fear.
Some people panicked. Some dismissed it. But enough recognized the evidence.
Humanity could no longer ignore the truth. Meanwhile, Elena noticed a change in the signal. The Alpha Centauri pulses now carried a sense of relief, as if the aliens were acknowledging their effort. "They're encouraging us," Layla whispered. "We're following the path they outlined."
But not everyone celebrated.
Within hours, government agencies intensified Operation Silence, labeling the video as fake, threatening arrests, and taking down networks. Black SUVs appeared in multiple cities. Agents tried to intimidate anyone linked to the release. Elena realized the world was on the brink. Part of humanity believed the truth, and part of humanity, controlled by fear and power, refused to see it. The countdown continued, and the solar flare approached. The first undeniable confirmation came just 2 days later. Satellites detected the flare's early signs, a surge of solar particles heading directly for Earth. Scientists confirmed the predictions were correct.
Elena's heart pounded. It's real.
They were right. Alpha Centauri was right.
Layla put her hand on Elena's shoulder.
Now everyone has to see. There's no turning back. The world held its breath as governments scrambled, citizens panicked, and the countdown ticked closer to zero. And far above the planet, the signals from Alpha Centauri pulsed again, clear and unyielding. The truth is here, but will humanity listen? The day of the solar flare arrived like a slow, terrifying drumbeat. Elena, Layla, and Thomas huddled in an underground facility far from prying eyes. The team's improvised network of independent scientists and cryptographers had grown to dozens, all monitoring the skies and the data from Alpha Centauri. Every pulse of the signal seemed to urge them forward, urgent and insistent. "The flare will hit in less than an hour," Thomas said, checking the readings.
"Satellites confirm it."
"Governments are scrambling, but they are still downplaying the scale."
Elena nodded grimly.
"Then we bypass them. We have to warn the public ourselves." They began broadcasting emergency warnings through every available channel, encrypted internet streams, shortwave radio, satellite feeds, and social media. The team worked frantically, explaining the trajectory, impact zones, and potential disruptions.
Millions of people finally began to listen. But not everyone was ready to accept the truth.
Governments around the world declared the broadcasts illegal, called them panic-inducing hoaxes, and deployed security forces to shut down transmitters. Despite the resistance, the messages reached a critical mass. Humanity had to face the fact that the solar flare was real. Then, it began. High above Earth, the sky shimmered with a strange, otherworldly light. Aurora-like waves, unlike anything ever recorded, danced across the planet. Satellite feeds captured electrical surges in the atmosphere, blackouts in distant regions, and interference with communication systems. The solar flare had arrived, massive, unrelenting, and far more powerful than anyone had predicted.
The world panicked.
Cities lost power, planes were grounded, communication lines failed. For a few hours, humanity teetered on the edge of chaos. But through their underground networks, Elena and her team kept people informed. Hospitals, emergency centers, and critical infrastructure were protected wherever possible. Amid the chaos, Elena noticed something strange. The flare, though destructive in some areas, seemed to avoid certain regions entirely. Regions that corresponded to the coordinates subtly highlighted in the Alpha Centauri signal.
"They are shielding parts of the planet," she whispered.
"It's like they intervened." Layla stared at the data in disbelief. The aliens are helping us survive.
But only partially.
They are testing how we respond. Thomas added, and this proves what they've been telling us all along. Humanity's survival depends on our actions, not theirs. Hours later, when power was gradually restored in many areas, the team discovered something far more alarming. They had intercepted a secret government data dump, part of Operation Silence. Within it were files detailing classified communications between world leaders and unknown entities. The shocking truth emerged: some governments had known about the Alpha Centauri signals for decades. These weren't just passive observations, Elena said, her voice trembling. They knew the aliens were here.
They knew about the warnings.
And they tried to weaponize the knowledge.
Layla's eyes widened.
You mean, they weren't protecting us, they were using the information for control?
Elena nodded. Yes.
The timeline the aliens predicted, the disasters, the technological risks, even the environmental collapses, they were aware. They chose secrecy over humanity's safety. They buried the warnings and manipulated events to maintain power. Thomas shook his head in disbelief. Decades of cover-ups.
Lies.
Manipulation. And now, this flare, it forced them to act. But it's too late to contain the truth. As the solar flare subsided, the signals from Alpha Centauri pulsed again. This time, the patterns were no longer warnings. They were statements, almost like messages of sorrow and hope intertwined. Elena studied them, heart heavy. They regret leaving us alone, she said softly. They wanted to guide us, but we were never ready. And now, they are still giving us a chance.
But the governments were not finished.
Global agencies scrambled to reassert control, spreading misinformation and targeting the independent networks. Elena realized that the battle was only beginning. Operation Silence had failed in part, but those in power would stop at nothing to hide the full truth. The team understood one undeniable fact: the knowledge from Alpha Centauri had changed humanity forever. People had seen proof of intelligent life, of a cosmic intelligence that had influenced Earth's history, and of the government's long-standing deception. Elena turned to her team.
The world knows something is out there now. The aliens have spoken. And governments cannot erase this.
Our next step is critical. We must reveal what they've buried for decades.
Layla nodded grimly.
But that means exposing the names, the files, the hidden experiments. They will hunt us, and possibly kill anyone who helps. Elena's eyes burned with determination.
Then we do it. We have to.
Humanity deserves the truth, no matter the cost. Outside, the world was slowly recovering from the solar flare. Lights flickered on, airplanes returned to the skies, and news channels scrambled to cover the chaos. But in secret networks, in safe houses, and across encrypted lines, the whispers from Alpha Centauri continued, urgent, insistent, and hopeful.
The countdown was not over.
And somewhere deep in the cosmos, the aliens watched. They had given humanity a chance, but the ultimate test was only beginning. Would humanity rise to meet the truth, or bury it as their leaders had done for centuries? The world had not returned to normal after the solar flare.
Something fundamental had shifted.
People everywhere felt it, an unease in the air, a sense that reality itself had cracked open. In underground facilities, abandoned research bunkers, and hidden safe houses, Elena and her team worked without rest. The signal from Alpha Centauri had stabilized, no longer erratic or urgent. Instead, it carried something heavier, intent. It's no longer warning us, Layla said quietly. It's explaining. They gathered around the central console as Thomas decrypted a newly unlocked layer of the signal. What appeared was not numbers or symbols, but recorded memory fragments. Visual impressions. Emotions.
Echoes of ancient events. The first image stunned them all.
Earth, millions of years ago. The planet was wilder, raw and unstable. Volcanoes burned across continents. Primitive life struggled to survive. And then, they appeared. Tall figures of light and shadow descended from the sky. Their forms were fluid, not fully physical. They did not conquer. They observed. They studied. They were here before us, Elena whispered. The memory continued. The beings altered the planet subtly, adjusting atmospheric conditions, stabilizing climate cycles, accelerating biological evolution. They did not create humans directly, but they guided the process. They nudged evolution, Thomas said in awe. Just enough to help intelligence emerge. Then came another revelation, one that made Layla gasp. Among early humans, A small group was genetically altered.
Enhanced cognition. Heightened perception.
These individuals became the first leaders, shamans, kings, and prophets. Humanity's earliest myths were echoes of these interactions. They were the gods, Layla whispered. Or what we later called gods.
The signal shifted again, darker this time.
As human civilizations grew, so did ambition.
Power structures formed. Wars began.
The alien observers realized their influence was being twisted.
Knowledge meant to guide humanity was being weaponized. So they withdrew. But not completely.
The next sequence revealed a terrifying truth. Thousands of years later, when modern governments formed, contact was re-established. Not with all of humanity, but with select leaders.
Secret councils. Military and intelligence agencies.
They made deals, Elena said, her voice trembling. Access to alien technology, in exchange for secrecy.
The room went silent.
The aliens had offered guidance, energy solutions, medical advancements, but with conditions. Humanity was not yet mature enough to know the full truth. The knowledge had to be protected, controlled, delayed.
But it went wrong, Thomas said.
Power corrupted it. Governments hoarded technology, experimented on it, weaponized fragments of alien science. And when the aliens saw what was happening, they tried to intervene again, sending warnings through Alpha Centauri.
Warnings that were ignored.
That's why they left, Layla whispered. They lost faith in us. The final part of the message was devastating. The aliens revealed that Earth was approaching a tipping point, not just environmental or technological, but moral. Humanity's choices would soon determine whether it remained part of the greater cosmic community or became isolated forever. If humanity failed, the aliens would not destroy Earth.
They would abandon it.
Cut it off.
Erase all contact.
Condemn humanity to face its future alone. Silence fell over the room.
Elena felt tears in her eyes.
They are not judging us, they are disappointed. The signal ended with a single statement translated across all known languages. Your world must choose who it wishes to become. Before they could process it, alarms rang across the underground base.
Security sensors lit up. They found us, Thomas said.
Armed forces were closing in fast. They are going to erase this, Layla whispered. All of it.
Elena grabbed the data drives. Then we don't let them. We take this to the people.
Every file. Every truth. The team split up, escaping through hidden tunnels as explosions echoed behind them. Outside, helicopters filled the sky.
Searchlights cut through the darkness.
As Elena ran, she received one final transmission from Alpha Centauri, short, powerful, and unmistakable. The choice must be made openly. We will not interfere again.
She stopped, heart pounding.
The future of humanity now rested in human hands. And the world was about to learn a truth that could unite it, or destroy it forever. By dawn, the world had changed forever. Elena, Layla, and Thomas, along with their small team of independent scientists and journalists, had managed to transmit the core Alpha Centauri files to secure, decentralized networks. Unlike previous attempts, these channels were nearly impossible to suppress, peer-to-peer, encrypted, and backed by dozens of trusted nodes worldwide. The files included everything: the decoded messages, the history of alien contact, evidence of government cover-ups, and predictions of impending events. Within hours, millions of people accessed the data. The world went from ignorance to awareness in a single day.
News organizations scrambled.
Governments tried to dismiss the revelations as fabrications, but the evidence was overwhelming. Satellite feeds, independent experiments, and even the recent solar flare all confirmed the truth. Humanity had been guided and manipulated by extraterrestrial intelligence for millennia. Protests erupted globally, not just against leaders, but against centuries of lies.
Citizens demanded accountability. Scholars and theologians debated the implications.
Scientists verified the data, confirming Alpha Centauri's predictions and warnings. Elena watched the chaos from a hidden command center.
She felt both triumph and fear.
Humanity had been given the truth, but would they be able to handle it?
Layla shook her head. People aren't ready for this.
The governments lied to protect themselves, but now everyone knows.
What if they panic?
Thomas replied, panic is inevitable.
But this is the only way forward.
The choice belongs to humanity now, not to secret councils or hidden agencies. Indeed, the global response was unpredictable. Some communities embraced the knowledge, forming cooperative networks to address climate, technology, and governance. Others resisted, clinging to denial, superstition, and fear. Violent confrontations broke out in several regions. Amid the chaos, Elena noticed a pattern. The Alpha Centauri signal, previously silent since their last decoding, pulsed once more. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but unmistakable.
It carried no direct instructions. Only one simple message. Observe. Choose.
Learn. Elena realized then that the aliens had done everything they could. Now, humanity's evolution was entirely in their own hands. Meanwhile, governments crumbled under the weight of exposure. Leaders who had hidden alien contact for decades were forced to resign or face prosecution. Military agencies fractured, some siding with the people, others attempting to cling to power. The most dangerous factions tried to seize the Alpha Centauri files, believing control of the information would restore authority. But Elena's decentralized distribution system prevented any single entity from monopolizing the data. Humanity had been given a gift, and it could not be silenced again. The team also faced personal dangers. Hunters from the old secret agencies pursued them relentlessly. Elena narrowly escaped ambushes multiple times, using hidden tunnels, decoys, and the support of sympathetic scientists worldwide. Despite the chaos, the first signs of unity appeared. Nations once in conflict shared knowledge openly. Scientists collaborated across borders to decode further sections of the Alpha Centauri signal. Communities prepared for future anomalies predicted by the signal. Humanity, for the first time, acted collectively. Yet, even as progress was made, Elena knew the aliens' warning remained clear. Failure to act wisely could still lead to catastrophe. She gathered the team late one night.
"They've given us everything," she said. "The knowledge, the guidance, the warnings. Now it's up to us."
Humanity decides its own future. Layla looked around the room, exhausted but resolute. "And if we fail?" Elena's eyes hardened.
"Then they leave us.
And Earth becomes just another abandoned world in the universe. We can't let that happen." The countdown from Alpha Centauri had ended in terms of the immediate threat, but the true test had only begun. Humanity now faced a choice unlike any in history. To use the knowledge wisely, unite, and survive as part of a greater cosmic community. Or to ignore it, descend into chaos, and lose the chance forever. Above them, the sky seemed clearer, almost peaceful, as if Alpha Centauri itself was watching. But Elena knew that no cosmic intervention would save them if humans chose poorly. The whispers from Alpha Centauri were no longer subtle.
They had revealed the truth. The ball was now in humanity's court.
And for the first time, Elena allowed herself a small, determined smile. Humanity had the chance to rise. Whether they would or not, only time would tell. Weeks had passed since the solar flare, since the files went public, and since humanity had glimpsed the truth of its origins and the secret manipulations of governments.
The world was no longer the same.
The chaos of the first days had given way to cautious cooperation. Communities began sharing resources, scientists collaborated globally, and some governments that had once hidden the truth resigned, replaced by new leadership committed to transparency.
But the real test was yet to come.
The Alpha Centauri signal had promised that humanity's choices now determined whether the species could continue to grow as part of a greater cosmic community or face isolation. Elena, Layla, and Thomas gathered in a secure observation station, far from the cities still struggling to recover. The signal pulsed faintly on their monitors, more like a heartbeat than a transmission. "It's waiting," Elena said quietly. "They are waiting for us to decide."
Layla frowned. "But what exactly do they expect?
Cooperation?
Peace?
Understanding?"
Thomas shook his head.
"All of it. They've given us knowledge, technology, warnings, history, everything.
Now it's up to humanity to act wisely.
They can't do it for us anymore." Outside, Earth was slowly healing. The auroras from the solar flare lingered in the polar skies, a reminder of the cosmic presence that had always watched. Humanity had been reminded that it was not alone, and that every choice carried weight far beyond the planet. Then, a new message arrived in the signal, clearer than any before. It was no longer a warning or a set of instructions. It was a reflection, almost like a mirror held up to humanity itself. "We have guided. We have warned. We have observed. The choice is yours. Show wisdom, show unity, show care, and your path will continue.
Fail, and the path will end."
No more intervention will come.
Elena read the message aloud, her voice trembling. No more intervention, they are done.
Everything now depends on us.
Layla's eyes glistened.
All these years, the myths, the legends, the secret programs, it was never too late. But now it really is. Across the globe, signs of humanity rising appeared. Scientists collaborated on climate restoration projects. Engineers built sustainable energy networks. Communities began rebuilding with cooperation rather than competition. Knowledge of alien guidance inspired a new era of curiosity, creativity, and ethics.
Yet, the choice was not uniform.
Some factions clung to fear, greed, and control. Some governments tried to reassert secrecy, but the decentralized networks of truth ensured they could not. Humanity had been given both the opportunity and the freedom to choose. Elena and her team watched the skies one final night. The signal from Alpha Centauri pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat fading into the distance.
It was no longer urgent, no longer insistent.
It's over, Thomas said softly. They've done all they can.
Elena nodded. And now we do the rest.
Layla looked up at the stars, a quiet awe in her voice. Do you think they'll ever return?
Elena shook her head. I don't think they need to.
They've left the truth, and they've left the choice. What comes next is ours. As humanity collectively embraced knowledge, transparency, and cooperation, the world began a slow transformation. For the first time in history, people were aware not just of the planet they lived on, but of their place in the cosmos. Somewhere far in the distance, Alpha Centauri pulsed once more, not as a message, not as a warning, but as a silent acknowledgement.
The whispers had ended. The truth had been revealed.
Humanity now faced the future unshielded, unprotected, and entirely responsible for its own destiny. And in that responsibility lay the promise of greatness, or the risk of collapse. The stars above shone a little brighter that night, as if watching, waiting, and hoping. And for the first time, humanity understood. The universe was not empty.
It was waiting.
Waiting for those who could hear the whispers, and choose wisely.